This one's weird. I agreed to be on your show, but that was because I thought there would be a show. So had I known that you would one day take this down because you, again, own the show, I wouldn't have agreed to be on it in the first place, even if it was years later. Surely he should block all the bigoted listeners as they subscribed as a result of Peterson's appearance. Now, one of the reasons why this is hilarious, A, because Peterson is losing his shit, B, because he keeps talking about how this is cancel culture. Like, this is a really big example of cancel culture. It's basically 1985, Greg Orwin, he's gone and done the worst thing possible. He is self-censoring his own network's material, in this case his own YouTube channel. But, like, if cancel culture includes I'm not allowed to take down a video that I don't like in the future, that's utterly absurd. You know what? Probably the best way for me to introduce everyone to this is to show you a meme, Here, I'll show you all a meme. Here's a meme, everybody.
How are you going to handle temptations of drugs and alcohol? Are you going to keep yourself healthy mentally and physically? What are your career goals? And what are you going to do with life outside of work? You know, so if you could have what would be good for you, just what would that look like?
Welcome everybody to the leftovers. The wait is over.
That's right.
With me, welcoming to the H3 family and our $3 million set. We spared no expense. Hassan Piker.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I'm ready to. Okay.
We plugged you too. Go ahead, show us his socials again.
I'm ready to.
See that?
Oh, look
plug
at that!
For you?
Hell yeah! I'm ready to bring the patriotic voice to this.
That's what
this godless channel.
Thank you. Hey, come on.
That's what I'm here for. That's right. Real American voice will be heard. Fine.
So that should explain all the background that you'll need to understand the story coming before you. Hey, Xander, I agree. It's good to see your lovely face in chat, the equivalent. And Jack in the Box, I will cue that up for later. Canada committed dog genocide. I don't know if I want to watch that. That sounds horrifying. But anyways, back to the story at hand. Just a quick recap, if you didn't know. Ethan Klein of H3H3, very prolific YouTuber, has been in the scene for a very long time. Obviously, anyone who's had a public life for a very long time has also probably been doing, if you're an entertainer on the internet, some pretty shitty shit. You probably have some episodes in the past of you doing blackface. Probably have some episodes in the past of you saying the N-word quite a bit. Probably have some episodes in the past of you just doing, you know, it's not everyone can be Joji. I'm just going to say that, okay? Not everyone can go from being Filthy Frank to being Joji and then making all this incredible music where people are like, wow, you've touched my soul in ways I didn't know was possible. But you also used to vomit on people for money. That's neat. I mean, there's different arcs. Ethan's arc isn't quite the same, but it's an arc nonetheless. And he's paired off with Hassan Piker. His name is Hassan, and they've been kind of doing some interesting lefty style pop culture analysis and Chad Weiss. Don't forget about the Chad Weiss too. And I guess I don't know what the catalyst was exactly that led to this moment, but you know, on January 14th, 2022, Ethan Klein writes, years ago, I interviewed Jordan Peterson before I was very familiar with his politics. He was an interesting guest who I enjoyed sitting with. But especially now, I can see he's a dangerous gateway to the alt-right, transphobia, and COVID misinfo. I removed both interviews today. So this happened. I was astounded. I didn't know this would happen. And of course, Jordan Peterson took it calmly, rationally.
What are you up to, Ethan? We had a good conversation. I enjoyed meeting you and talking with you. What have I said? Precisely that motivated your actions and your accusations. Delete.
Test. Wow. Peterson broke my mic. My Peterson voice was just so revolting that my computer was like, nah, we're not We're not doing this. We're not sitting through this, Lance. We're done. Yeah, canceled for Frogface. Hassan, hold on. Hassan said it was conversion therapy tweet that shook Ethan. Gotcha. Well, hey, I don't know what it was. Whatever it was, fucking good. Jordan Peterson is just the worst. I've been saying this for a very long time. I'm glad I was ahead of the curve. I was a trendsetter, and then people are now picking up on that because Jordan Peterson fucking sucks. He's the worst. He's been lying. He's been lying his whole career. He became famous because he told everybody that Bill C-16 in Canada was going to compel speech in this country. It was going to get people fired or going to prison for having to use pronouns they didn't agree with. So say you weren't down with neo-pronouns, and this was before the neo-pronoun discourse was all over the internets, you see. He was saying that, like, hey, we'll have to say strange things like Z and Zer, and if you refuse to call someone by Z gender, then you'll just wind up in prison. And that's when I put my foot down. I had to take a stand. I was like, no more, mother. You're not making me do and say things I don't want to say and do anymore, mother. And so, yeah, it turns out it was a complete lie. Bill C-16 was about adding, gender to the protected categories in Canada, for which you cannot commit hate crimes. Genocide is in that list. So it's not exactly a very controversial thing. And again, nobody's gone to jail for using improper pronouns. They love to trot out the example of a father who's in jail, and he was misgendering his daughter. He was also, found to be incredibly abusive, and there's a lot of reasons why he was taken off to jail. So it's not specifically because of the misgendering or the pronouns. It's not a thing. No one's gone to jail. Just gonna debunk that one before all the weirdos show up in my chat being like, actually, there's one father who. Anyways, back to more serious shit.
Finally, H3H3 Productions, you might seriously consider providing me with the footage so I can post it, given that I agreed to appear on your show based on the agreement that there would in fact be a show. Also, I should warn you that those who engage in cancel culture generally live to regret it. I'm not going to come after you, except politely, in this Twitter stream, but the chickens will definitely come home to roost. You will be held to a higher and soon impossible to maintain ethical standard by the very mob you currently wish to please. Then you will make a mistake, and they will devour you with glee. Please
so long as I'm about to talk like Jordan Peter, please take this warning seriously. I liked you. So the idea being that because he has gone in with this new crowd, the wokes, and they're embracing him. They're like, oh yes, he's our new father. Here's Ethan Daddy here to give us that sweet, sweet wokeness. Give it to us. That all of a sudden people are going to realize that, if you fuck up once, the left destroys you. You only get one chance. Every leftist knows this. We're all sitting there clutching our hearts, waiting for our moment to come, and we're like, oh, I've only got one life left, It's not like in Super Mario. It's not those rules. It's not like I got the 3 balloons. Sorry, Mario Kart, I should say. The 3 balloons are like, just floating around me, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like,
at any time now I can say something that's going to get me canceled.
No, we all know. We took that. This was our oath. When we became leftists, we only have one chance. That Eminem song, that's about being on the left, You only get one shot. This opportunity blow. Mum's spaghetti, knees weak, arms heavy, all that's about this. So now you know. Anyways, it accelerated. Jordan Peterson has kind of been all over the place in terms of his tweeting. He hasn't been very happy, of course, retweeting Glenn Greenwald. The catalyst apparently for this was that Jordan Peterson went after Justin Trudeau for conversion therapy, and he was quite against that bill. He's I'm not entirely sure what about the torture of children. Is it that Jordan Peterson still is interested in? That's not exactly what I understand, but there's that. He was violating court orders for privacy too. Oh shit. Hold on. You know what? When we talk about Jordan Peterson, there's one story that I'm like astounded that no one ever brings up. Okay, Okay, so by the way, when you're not mad, you definitely come out of nowhere and do the whole, I'm going to post this, the postmillennial.com, Jordan Peterson schools Ethan Klein on cancel culture. Let's click on the rag. Thanks for posting the postmillennial, by the way. Oh, it's an opinion piece. Odd. But I'm glad Angelo Isidoro was able to... Oh, my word! From Vancouver, British Columbia. Huh. The internet is filled with countless individuals who are willing to denigrate themselves in exchange for attention and profit. Yeah, I am. I feel seen. but few are as prominent as YouTuber Ethan Klein, aka H3H3 Productions. Ironically, Klein rose to fame by YouTube by making comedic videos about crazy, eccentric, or insincere people online. Yet much has changed since the old days of YouTube, as Klein, since hitting a lull of his comedic YouTube career, Klein pivoted to podcasting, and has hosted numerous famous figures, including Dr. Jordan Peterson, whom he hosted twice. Was that why I started this podcast? He's like, my YouTube channel is completely dead, I'm broke, I don't know what to do now, maybe I'll try podcasting and see how that works out. The success of the podcast led Klein to collaborate with various leftist commentators, including Hassan Piker, known communist dreamboat. The two now have a show together called The Leftovers. The evolution of Klein's politics is a metaphorical licking of the finger and seeing which way the wind blows. Ooh, fun. It's relative recent evolution and is heavily tied to whoever he's currently collaborating with. However, a new identity comes with a new audience who may see Klein's old associations as verboten. Peterson is what's an forbidden figure as Klein's new subscribers. Years ago, I interviewed Jordan Peterson. We know the thing. Klein attests that was utterly unaware of Peterson's politics, which an insincere position of Klein has outwardly praised Peterson in the past. And here we are, an example. Years ago, yeah. Oh, whoa. Angelou, are you including yourself in the story? Have you inserted yourself? This is so meta. It's like at first I was covering the story as a piece of news, but then I found I was the story. Yes, his advice in your podcast with him, which focused on bettering your life, is truly dangerous stuff. How soon until your new zeitgeist determines whether humongous is too dangerous? He's an incredibly educated, well-spoken, and insightful person on pretty much every topic, Klein has said, introducing Peterson on his podcast in 2017. The love didn't stop there. In Peterson's next appearance, Klein said, "Today's guest is great and wonderful, and one for our time, all favorite guests, Dr. Jordan Peterson, who's graced us with his presence yet again." Klein also lauded Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, saying that he read it, loved it. Nonetheless, Ethan Klein of 2017 is no more, which is a disappointing shock, not to his former fans like myself, but Peterson. So I'm just going to say this, by the way. Klein has like a series of videos that you can look up, of which he is becoming progressively more and more shocked by the antics of Jordan Peterson. Now, yeah, in 2017, could you have done a little bit of research into this topic and find out why Jordan Peterson was so yikesy? Perhaps. Here's something else to consider. Ethan Klein has been yikesy himself on trans topics. That's probably one of the reasons I say to this day, I think I'm blocked by Ethan Klein, because there was one time when he was making a post about trans children, and he was talking about HRT, and doing that whole, like, Joe Rogan-esque, like, you know, I just consider, like, I'm for trans rights, but I just kind of consider that it's abuse of children to, you know, be prescribing them drugs that can be life-altering and all this kind of stuff. And I went so hard, okay? Which is honestly, when I tell the story, I say it as a call out, because like I shouldn't always just try to do the Twitter thing, which is what the algorithm wants, which is just be like, "You fucking monster," blah, and just like lose your shit, you know? Never go like as hard as you can, because you're not really changing minds. You're just trying to be like, "I'm destroying you online in turn-based Twitter life." So he may have muted me then. I don't know. Either way. What are you up to, Ethan? We had a good conversation. I enjoyed meeting you, talking with you. Yeah, Peterson was upset. Finally, H3 replied, "He might seriously consider providing me with the footage so I can post it, given that I agreed to appear on your show based on the agreement that there would now be, in fact, a show." This one's weird. I agreed to be on your show, but that was because I thought there would be a show. So had I known that you would one day take this down because you, again, own the show, I wouldn't have agreed to be on it in the first place, even if it was years later. Surely he should block all the bigoted listeners as they subscribed as a result of Peterson's appearance. Now, one of the reasons why this is hilarious, A, because Peterson is losing his shit, B, because he keeps talking about how this is cancel culture. Like, this is a really big example of cancel culture. It's basically 1985, Greg Orwin, he's gone and done the worst thing possible. He is self-censoring his own network's material, in this case his own YouTube channel. But like, if cancel culture includes I'm not allowed to take down a video that I don't like in the future, that's utterly absurd. I want myself and others to be able to do that. I'm not against either taking down or doing a reissuing of content on a video, because either my understanding of a topic changes and or everyone's understanding of a topic changes, as we've done more scientific research into X, we found out Y, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, yes, because that is how science works. It's an evolving process. It's you're constantly contributing new data, new observations to the body of work and making things better. That's why when certain people get to a point where they're like, well, I don't exactly agree with this. This is kind of yikesy to me. I don't want there to be infinite genders. It just doesn't play well with my idea. I like the binary. I like the fact that there's one man, one woman, Adam and Eve. It makes sense. Everything makes sense. You're like, well, what about intersex people? It's like, okay, but that doesn't really count, okay? That's just like variations of the Adam and Eve. I don't have to think about that one. It's like, well, what if I told you that there was multiple variations? He's like, I don't want to think about that either. It's like, well, what if I told you that the idea of gender and all these things are social constructs and what we associate with it? I don't want to think about that either. Like, blah, no. Like, okay, fine. I think we should. I love saying the N-word and the F-slur. A newly video surfaced of Ethan Klein shows him using racist and anti-clay slurs. Yes. Oh my God. Is this the next part? Peterson is widely witnessing the purity spiral of Ethan Klein and is aware that, like all humans, Klein is not without his own skeletons in the closet. There are countless video footages of Klein uttering the N-word and the F-slur, which is offensive to black people. Thank you for reiterating why these words are bad. Because it's offensive to black people. Because black people are offended. I don't know why. I don't know why they're offended. But anyways, it's offensive to black people. So he's one of the bad people. The difference is, like, what are you actively doing now? Have you come out and said, and which Ethan has, he's made an entire video on white privilege and why it was like horrifying that he used to do this kind of shit. But if you come out and said, hey, by the way, I deeply regret the way I used to act in the past. Obviously, it's not right. I apologize and I want to work towards bettering, using my platform to better and further people's understanding of these issues and trying to make their lives, try to not contribute towards structures of white supremacy, marginalizing communities, all this kind of shit. Fine. That's very, very different than what Jordan Peterson is doing today. Like, if you were actively saying, like, you know, you're off your rocker, Justin Trudeau, for agreeing, and so are the rest of you Canadians, agreeing to put an end to the ability to profit off the torture of children, which is in essence what conversion therapy is, right? Then yes, he is still actively doing damage today. Look at Peterson's unhinged tweets and posts. He's been posting anti-vax misinformation on a very regular basis. He's been posting just pseudoscience on COVID on a regular basis. He's consistently posting stuff that marginalizes the trans community. And also, speaking of cancel culture, because this is so very important. This is the part that shocks me about all of this, okay? Why doesn't anyone ever talk about this story? If this is news to you, I got something to tell you, okay? The story behind Jordan Peterson's Indigenous identity. What? The controversial professor has used his links to the... okay, I gotta learn how to pronounce this properly, because last time I read this, because people hadn't heard this story before, I think we butchered the pronunciation.
How do you say kwakwakiwak?
Kwakwakiwak.
If you break it up phonetically, it can look like this. Kwa, K as in Mary Kay, and wok as in cooking with a wok. And for a little bit of extra flair, you can throw a at the end of the K.
Kwakwakewak. Cool. Kwakwakewak. All right, we learned something. The controversial professor has used his links with the Kwakwakewak people as a shield against the accusations of racism. Jordan Peterson is University of Toronto's psychology professor, best-selling author, cultural warrior, YouTube celebrity, and a growing presence in the Canadian conservative politics scene. The one thing he's most certainly not a member of is the Kwakwakewak people of British Columbia. That claim, however, has appeared several times in Peterson's bios, which state that he has been inducted into the coastal Pacific Kwakwakewak tribe. It appears on social media posts and is referenced again this week when Peterson tweeted Judge Mishra and said a critical piece about him in the New York Review of Books. You say Peterson claims that he's been inducted into the coastal Pacific Kwakwakewak tribe, and what do you mean by these claims? Are you a peddler of nasty, unhanded innuendo? Are you a dealer in lies and half-truths? Now, why this is unusual is for a handful of reasons. There's a big problem in Canada right now with something that is being referred to as pretendians. That's the term that is used, in which people try to either lie about their Indigenous status, or they were fooled by their parents for saying you grew up in an Indigenous community, or they'll lie about Indigenous status to try and get a variety of things, either grants or other shit they're not entitled to. In Canada, the same problem isn't happening in the United States. People have been exposed as frauds for that, so it is a very contentious topic in Canada for sure. But this one gets even stranger. This is Peterson not claiming that he has Indigenous heritage, but that he is like an official inducted member into this tribe. Peterson's connections with the Kwakwakewak people derive from his friendship with traditional bonds with the family of Charles Joseph, an accomplished Kwakwakewak caregiver for the tribe. Earlier this year, I spoke to Charles Joseph, who confirms that Peterson is not a member of the Kwakwakewak people, nor is he of the Matiglia Tolostiskit tribe. Peterson's mischaracterizations are ironic, given his admonition of his new book, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. To be precise with your speech is one of the rules. Indeed, he first burst into Canadian scene in 2016 with the controversy over what he believed was dangerously deceptive language tied to the use of gender-neutral pronouns such as he and her. He argued that there's no scientific evidence that any genders exist outside of the male and female, and felt that Bill C-16, a bill to amend human rights legislation to add gender identity and gender expression to the list, prohibited grounds for discrimination. While mostly your experts quoted in the press disagree with the interpretation of the pronouns issue, Peterson's opposition resonated with many Canadians who appear to feel the social and political gains by minorities, women, and the LGBTQ community have come at their expense, which is fucked, by the way. Like, the idea, if you acknowledge that, like, racism is a thing, and yes, we seem to be oppressing and marginalizing other communities, if they start to get more rights and protections in society, then the idea that that is somehow coming at the expense of you is utterly absurd. Peterson today enjoys a famously active and motivational fan base and can count among his defenders as Canadian writers, including Christy Blatchford, Rex Murphy, political figures as ousted, blah, 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 pronouns controversy. By the way, if you hadn't seen this Peterson tweet, yes, this is real and not deleted. I quote tweeted it not too long ago. It's good to see you consumed the liquor this time instead of letting some Indians steal it. Little racist joke by Jordan Peterson, which is again still on Twitter to this day. Senator Murray Sinclair, a First Nation senator and former chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, tweeted in reply, Jordan Peterson is a racist. Are we really surprised? No, I'm not. On April 1st, 2017, a commenter on Facebook who suggested he was a racist, Peterson explicitly restated his claim, saying, if by KKK you mean whoa! Then I approached Penguin Random House of Canada for an interview with the author to discuss why the online description of the current bestseller, 12 Rules for Life, carried a biographical note. So this was basically using it as a shield, as if he's got a pass for racism because, hey, I'm actually Indigenous. It's okay. I'm an official member, which is odd in and of itself. That's not even like you have actually been historically oppressed in any way, or even oppressed in like everyday society by like how people will treat you. It's just like, it's okay. I'm Indigenous, so I can be racist now, which is also weird. Like, Indigenous people are not inherently racist. There's a chapter in 12 Rules for Life which he talks about abuse. Without using the term residential school, he zeroes in on the person he's just attended one. I know a man, a great artist, who emerged from just such a school. Incapable of speaking the language of the school, deliberately isolated from his family, abused, starved, and otherwise tormented, he emerged an angry, broken young man. Peterson goes on to praise this man for recovering and giving up that hate that should naturally come from suffering that abuse and becoming a good person. The name of that good person is not mentioned in the book, but Peterson does name a very similar thing in other writing, a residential school survivor and an acclaimed artist, Charles Joseph. I spoke with Joseph early this January and asked him about Peterson's ties to the tribe. He's part of my family. He's part of the Joseph box, not the nation. The Joseph box, Joseph replied. He explained the box can, in context, be used as a metaphor for extended family. Joseph made it clear that as thanks to Peterson, as he did for his family, he was blanketed and given the name Great Seeker. These are common ceremonies amongst West Coast First Nations. Yes, they've done it. Like, West Coast First Nations do this to a lot of people. They've done it to like artists and bands who've done a lot for Indigenous rights. It doesn't like, it's not like you are now Indigenous. You know, it's not like you're being tapped on the head and then given like the status or something. Anyways, this was super cringe, and Jordan Peterson had videos on this topic. I don't know if any still exist. Hold on one sec.
It's obviously a carving that I bought from a carver named Charles Joseph, or Boone, who's part of the Kwakwaka'wakw people, whose group, whose tribe, I suppose, or whose nation I am now an honorary member of. It was the start of a long relationship. I bought another small mask.
This is as loud as I can make it. I'm maxing out both of them. This is 600 times volume.
At the same time, but I told Charles I met him in Vancouver Island at a craft fair, and what he was doing was far more remarkable than mere craft. And we talked for a while, about an hour. He told me about his background, which was pretty rough. He was a residential school survivor and had been brutalized very badly as a child. And anyways, he kind of found his way back to earth by returning to his tradition, which he had been taught quite in depth by his grandparents, who were native language speakers like him, but who were also part of the unbroken tradition of this people, which could conceivably go back, 14,000 years. They have a very advanced artistic tradition, and it's a unified tradition. So all the carvings, the masks, have songs and dances that go along with them, and a mythology. So I told Charles that if he sent me a carving every 4 or 5 months, I'd pay him what he thought it was worth, and we could try that for a while. And we did that for a number of years, and then he came out here. I had a vision, I suppose, of these North American Pacific Coast native deities coming across the Rocky Mountains in the clouds out to eastern Canada. So I phoned him up and told him about that vision and invited him out here. He'd never been east of Calgary, which is like 2,500 miles west of here. And I don't think he'd ever flown at that point, though that might be wrong, but I think that's true. Anyways, he came out here and spent 3 or 4 days with me, stayed at a bed and breakfast, and we had a pretty good time, and I introduced him to a wealthy friend of mine.
He's being painted.
Who ended up commissioning a 53-foot totem pole from him, which is a whopping totem pole. It's about 6 feet across at the base, and also a 40-foot canoe. And the totem pole and a bunch of of carvings.
Is he indigenous? No, he is not. He's absolutely not indigenous. No, the person of whom he's speaking, the residential school survivor, they did a ceremony and he explained it. It's like it's as if it's inducting someone into your extended family. It's kind of like, hey, have any of you had someone who hangs out who your parents had called an uncle but wasn't literally your uncle, was not your blood uncle, was just like, oh yeah, this is like he's just part of the family, blah blah blah. That in no way, and he stresses this when he speaks about Jordan Peterson, whom he has an affection for. He says I'm not saying he's an indigenous member of the tribe. He's not. We just said like that he was part of our extended family. That's it. It's him to then use and manipulate this is extremely bizarre and cringe. And then extra weird that he did it to cover up the fact that he was like being accused of racism. So that's why when he was like KKK, no, I'm not KKK. I'm part of the tribe. It's fine. You know.
Put into a museum that he's building on his land to store masks from all over the world. So that worked out pretty well for him. And I bought a bunch of totem poles and large pieces, and then built a Indian longhouse.
He also took these videos down, by the way. He had 2 videos on the topic on his YouTube channel. He's taking them both down because people were like, what the fuck is going on? And, you know, as a result of that, that's a pretty good indication, if we're obeying Jordan Peterson's own rules, that he was doing a cancel culture. He cancel cultured himself well before he was cancel cultured by Ethan Klein. It was kind of like a cancel culture versus a cancel culture. I love that this is a tweet that you both made, so you could also cite yourself in the shitty article you wrote. By the way, want to review this? Offensively? Oh, no. I would like to tweet this. Yeah, no, I got it right, Twitter. I know what I'm doing. And parlay. Okay. But thank you for trying to make it a safer place for all of us.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we beseech thee to smite down our enemies. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble court jesters, here to amuse you. To our lords, Trevor R., we give thanks for this spit of land for us to eke out this meager existence. To our knights, Merid, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Ellie Leslie, Alex P., Brandon, Words Greenwood, Nate, that one guy, Hagbird Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Val 9000, Jenna Tall, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multi Mondi, Trevor Yanis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Cern 42, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our flag in a veil, and we salute you, our friends.